Okay, so here's the wild part. A boat capsized near one of the most iconic landmarks in the world, the Statue of Liberty. And yet, this tragedy feels like it's been overshadowed by the sheer absurdity of the situation. I mean, how does something like this even happen in a place that's supposed to be this controlled, this monitored? Let me unpack this because the deeper you look, the more unsettling it gets. First off, the basics. A captain gets arrested after a boat flips, killing a woman and a baby. 11 others injured. Reckless endangerment charges? Sure, that's the legal checkbox. But what's the story here? The Coast Guard is even asking if this was an illegal charter operation. Wait, so no one even knows if this boat was supposed to be carrying passengers? That's the red flag. If this was an unlicensed tour, that's not just negligence. It's a systemic failure. And honestly, this makes me wonder how many other sketchy operators are out there, flying under the radar because tourists just want a cheap selfie with Lady Liberty. Now, the victims. A 27-year-old woman and a 5-month-old baby. Let that sink in. A baby. On a boat that capsized. In New York Harbor. This isn't some remote river. It's one of the busiest waterways in the world. So why weren't there more safeguards? Life jackets? Better emergency protocols? Or was this tragedy a perfect storm of poor decisions, like overloading the boat, ignoring weather warnings, or cutting corners on safety to maximize profits? Because let's be real, someone's making money off these tours, and corners get cut when greed's in the driver's seat. And then there's the location. Liberty Island. The Statue of Liberty. Symbol of freedom, opportunity, all that jazz. But juxtapose that with this horror story. It's almost poetic in the worst way. The statue's been there since 1886, welcoming immigrants, right? But now it's also the backdrop to a preventable disaster. That contrast, it's haunting. Because the reality is, tourism often prioritizes spectacle over safety. People want the gram, the experience, the bragging rights, and operators exploit that. How many times have you seen those cheesy boat tours promising unforgettable views? But what if unforgettable turns into unrecoverable? Here's the thing. This isn't just about one reckless captain. It's about a system that lets these operations exist in the first place. If the Coast Guard and NYPD are scrambling to figure out if this was illegal, that means oversight is fractured. Maybe there's a loophole between state and federal jurisdiction, or maybe enforcement is lax because the harbor's so crowded with traffic. Either way, this incident exposes a vulnerability we've all been ignoring. And honestly, the bigger question is, how many near misses happen every day that we never hear about? So where do we go from here? Stricter regulations? Heavier penalties for illegal charters? Or maybe a tech solution, like mandatory GPS tracking for all passenger vessels? But let's not kid ourselves. Change only happens after outrage. And this story? It'll fade from headlines soon. But for the families of that woman and child, it's permanent. So next time you're tempted by a $20 boat ride for a view of the Statue of Liberty, ask yourself, what's the real cost? Because freedom isn't free, and neither is safety.